Hi, my name is Molly. I'm an American living in Paris, and I'm a sewist and knitter by night and software developer by day. I live here with my little dog. I don't know if you can see him. His name is Pablo, and I have been watching so many knitting podcasts recently because my health has not been great, so I've been spending a lot of time in bed, and I've been like itching to craft, so I decided to pick knitting back up after many years of not knitting. And wow, the community has changed a lot in recent years. I feel like sewing or knitting sweaters and things are more accessible now because the construction techniques are easier, honestly. Like there's less seaming and everything. So I got the bug again, and I'm so happy to be knitting again. And I'm just glad that I can craft and kind of take it around with me. And so whenever I get the itch, I can just whip my knitting bag out and enjoy myself that way without having to interact with other people. Also, pretty much all of my favorite YouTubers at this point, if not most of them, are people living abroad and talking about sewing or knitting. So why not me too? Speaking of, let's just go straight into it because there's a lot to talk about. I've been sick for a while. So let's start with finished pieces. The first finished piece is the sweater that I'm wearing right now. It's the Monday sweater by PetiteKnit. I made a size extra large, which was definitely way too big. I just want to make that very clear. I used the Lang Yarns Baby Alpaca with the Lang Yarns Mohair Luxe. I very ignorantly went into the yarn store in Paris and got like 3 or 4 skeins thinking that that was going to be enough. I have been out of practice for a while, so it was a bit upsetting to my wallet when I had to go back to the yarn store and buy like 4 more skeins of each. And these are not cheap. These are not cheap yarns. This is a very nice sweater. It was my first time making a seamless sweater, top down, you know, raglan, all of that stuff. And it's a shape that I've always gravitated towards. So I was happy to see that it's kind of a ubiquitous style in the knitting world. So it's easy to find patterns. And I had been going on TikTok to see what are the knitting patterns out there now? And I kept seeing PetiteKnit over and over and over, and I was like, who is this PetiteKnit girl? And she's that girl, I've learned. She really does make timeless pieces, and the instructions are pretty easy to follow, and I love my finished piece. It's so comfy. I did follow the size large for like the waist down and the sleeve length because I knew that the extra large would be way too big. It became pretty apparent to me as I was getting through the yoke that this was too big, but it's cozy and comfy. And the yarn choice that I made going with an alpaca, I don't know if I would recommend that for your first sweater. It's not something that can easily be blocked, which I've learned after the fact, but it is incredibly soft and so warm. When I take Pablo out on walks, I am in sometimes just a light jacket over this and I feel fantastic. So I'm really thrilled with this sweater, and I was like knitting at work and stuff. Like I really got the bug, and everyone at work when I showed up wearing it was shocked. And I'd say that's fair. Yeah, I would. So that's my first finished object. My second is, I know this is not going to be shocking to anybody seeing as how I just got back into knitting again, but I made a Sophie scarf out of Lang Yarns Cashmere Premium. I bought quite a few skeins of this because I wanted to make the Elizabeth blouse, but I had one that was a dye lot that didn't match the rest of the skeins. So I thought, why not Sophie scarf? And I did not think it would be useful at all, but it's actually very nice to, for example, when I'm commuting to work and I have to like switch a lot of trains and it's, crowded and hot and all that stuff. I don't have to like carry this giant scarf on me and then like be sweating and everything. So this is actually really a nice little thing to have and a great gift knit for Christmas or birthdays or whatever. And the cashmere is so luxe. Like sometimes I even forget I'm wearing it. It feels like nothing, which I think is what you want, right? This is the first time he's sleeping out of the crate and like being calm. Oh my God, hallelujah. So I think I knit this on 3.5mm needles, which was a suggested needle size. I did struggle a little bit to count the rows in garter stitch with the I-cord edge and everything. I've heard a lot of people say that this is not a beginner friendly project because of that. I would agree. But I did figure out how to make this process go by a lot faster by using one stitch marker and placing it inside every increase. And then I would have 7 rows, 3 in the back and 4 in the front. And that's when I would do my other increase. And I would move the stitch marker up so that I could easily count them, because at first I was using like a stitch counter app and it was just kind of a pain. So like I figured that out way too late. So learn from my mistakes and it will be a lot easier to do this kind of project. Then the project becomes easy all of a sudden. So that's my Sophie scarf. Okay, so before we get into works in progress, there is something I have to shout out that I learned from Instagram. I will insert a clip here. But this girl, she suggested that you use this project bag. Well, this bag, it's not really a project bag, from IKEA. It cost me, I think, €3. I'd already like made an order for a pegboard. So I thought, why not? I'll get a few of these. And it is the coolest thing ever. It is this little waterproof bag, and you can kind of like roll it down so it stays nice and safe. And when you're knitting, you can clip it open so that your yarn can like freely unravel. And yeah, just honorable mention there. But the first work in progress, which is, and there's quite a few. This one probably has the most progress towards it, at least in terms of garments. And this is the Norma jean turtleneck by Fabel Knitwear. I am obsessed with this. Like, it's just so beautiful. So this is how it looks so far. And it is actually this like tall turtleneck that's meant to be rolled over. At least that's how she styles it in her Ravelry pages. It's a contiguous construction, which I've quickly become obsessed with. But it's a little bit different because there are these sort of cap sleeves that you create with a bunch of different increases. So you create this shoulder seam that comes down from the ribbing, and then you make a lot of increases for the sleeve. And it's just such a classy, refined silhouette. I know this is going to sound hypocritical based on what I'm wearing, but in a world of like plain raglan sweaters, this is kind of that similar style, but there's something so refined about it. And I only have, I think, a centimeter or 2 until I add ribbing to the waist and then move on to the sleeves. And it's knit on a 4.5mm needle with the Sandnes Garn Alpaca wool. The second I unboxed this, I became obsessed. I am obsessed with alpaca yarn. I just love alpaca yarn. I just think it's so soft and so nice. I'm still kind of back into my knitting journey, so I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but this actually has, I believe, 30% wool. Yeah, 30% wool and 4% acrylic, which is not a fiber I typically like, but in such a small quantity that hopefully will keep it from pilling and, you know, keep it safe. I'm okay with that. But it is this beautiful tweed. They're not all tweed. They have solid colors as well, but the tweed, oh my god, it's so pretty. And it's on a 4.5mm needle, so kind of a quick knit. It's a perfect stockinette project. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. She takes a lot of inspiration from like literature and academia, and I intend to wear this as like a top with maybe just a cami underneath. I just love it so much and I cannot wait to wear it. So this is why this one has the most progress. Hopefully the sleeves will go quickly and I can wear it soon. There's almost 200 projects on Ravelry at the time of this recording, and the clarity rating is 4.3. And I think that's fair. I think that she is a very talented knitwear designer, so she gives you so many tips throughout the pattern. How to make this garment fit you better, for example, the shoulder seam. So she has you take a measurement on your body to calculate the length of this, so that if you maybe have a wider shoulder or even like bust shaping, there's some decreases along the side of the garment. She gives you so many tips along the way on how to make modifications, which is really refreshing to see in knitting patterns. That being said, I would not recommend this for beginners, just because while she does give you a lot of tips on how to make the garment fit you better, I don't think that the instructions are as clear as they could be. For example, she just says increase 1, and then like later in the pattern she says like, you know, be aware of which way your increases are leaning. And, you know, I think she could have just written that in the pattern. So it's definitely something for an experienced knitter, maybe intermediate to advanced. So keep that in mind, but I definitely think it's possible. Like, I think if you've ever done a make one right or make one left increase, then I think you'll be fine with this. But either way, this is probably going to be like a very worn piece in my wardrobe. I can't wait to wear this. It's so soft. fact that there's wool in it to keep me warm as well. Yeah, this is definitely something I'm so excited to wear, and hopefully this will be finished by the end of the month. So the next work in progress is the zipper sweater by PetiteKnit, and I have not made much progress on it. You know, I've been seeing a lot of like knitting vlogs and stuff about this pattern because I was so interested in it. And everyone was saying that the collar was tedious because of the twisted rib, and I had never done twisted rib, and I was like, how bad could it be? You know, if knitters are saying something is tedious, it's tedious. And oh my God, is it? But it does look so beautiful. So this is what I have so far of my zipper sweater by PetiteKnit. I'm using the suggested yarns, which is pure Gynt and Tynn silk mohair, and I'm using the color Poppy. It's a very vivid red, especially if you compare it to my Sophie scarf, which is more of like a true red. This dye lot was slightly more orange though. I don't know if it's my color. I'm not a color analysis girly, but I think I'm an autumn. But you should also just wear the colors that make you happy, so I love vivid red. I associate this style as being really practical, usually very neutral, especially like having spent a lot of time in New England, where my father is from. This is like a staple piece that everyone wears there, so I wanted to elevate it a little bit and do an obscene color, so I chose Poppy. This is my first time using the famous pure Gynt and the famous Tynn silk mohair, and I have a couple thoughts. So my first impression of pure Gynt was that, oh, this is actually like not very soft and very scratchy. But then I blocked it and it softened up and it kind of fluffed, and I was like, okay, I see the appeal here. And I have seen people saying how long they've had their pure Gynt pieces and how well they wear and all that stuff. So I'm glad I blocked it just to see how it would work. And it's very affordable too. Like, granted, I'm in Europe, so it's a little bit easier to get. I'm not in Scandinavia, but I'm in France, and there are a couple of websites based in France I can order from. I ordered this from Hobby, which is a Danish website, so I did have to like pay shipping and all of that stuff. I've learned my lesson though. I've found other resources to buy them in France. Actually, the website that I ordered from recently, which we'll get to later, they had the matcha color, and I fear I need it. Yeah, I fear I need it. And as for the mohair, I have to say, I was a little bit, I don't want to say disappointed, but like I was a bit surprised at how like not very hairy it is. Like there's almost nothing really there. Even if we look at my knitted up piece that has the two strands, I just thought it would be fuzzier. I thought it'd be more fluffy, more like luxurious, but it's very subtle, which I don't think is a bad thing. But it's just compared to this sweater where the mohair that I used was incredibly, I would say, dense. I was surprised at like how hyped this is and how not hairy it is. So I don't know, there's that. So that is so far what I have of the zipper sweater. Not much, but it's taken a long time to do that twisted rib. Okay, the next work in progress that I have is from Gregoria Fibers, and it is the Camille set. Sorry, I live in France, so now certain words I just process as French, but I think in English it would be Camille. I don't know why. I hate who I'm becoming. I would say this is very nearly halfway done because I'm almost done with one mitten. I'm only making the mittens for this pattern. I have just a little bit left on the thumb, and it is a completely 1x1 rib mitten, and it's rounded at the top, which I love, and it's quite a long cuff. I mean, I suppose you could always do like any length cuff with any mitten, but the pattern calls for something very long, which for some reason, I just interpreted as very like luxurious, very chic. And it uses a tubular cast on. I haven't blocked it yet, so it could just be that, but it's not very, I think I did it wrong. But it's the exact same yarn as my sweater. I had some leftovers and I actually went to the store and exchanged it for a brown. I'm gonna try and make a matching hat as well. This pattern does have a matching hat. I will not be making it because it's a beret. I love a beret, but I live in Paris and you can't do that. I will get bullied within an inch of my life, but I'm really pleased with how much of a quick knit this was. I think I did use a slightly bigger needle than maybe I should have, but because I used a 4mm needle because that's what I used on the body of this, but the ribbing I used a 3.5, so I probably should have used a 3.5, but I think it will shrink a little bit once I block it. And I do think it's really cute, and I might actually get more to make a hat because I think I'm only gonna have one skein after all the mittens are done, so maybe just another Sophie scarf. And again, this is the Lang Yarns Baby Alpaca and the Lang Yarns Mohair Luxe, and I think you can see what I mean by this mohair being super, super fluffy. It's like very hairy. But yeah, I'm so pleased with it. I think it's very chic. I love how long it is, so when I take bike rides on throughout the city in Paris, I can very easily not get cold. So I'm actually really pleased with these. Ooh, the next one is under my camera. Hold on one sec. Guys, I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm just like doing this for fun because I'm like bedridden all the time. You still with me, Pops? We're good. So the next item is a Sophie shawl. I'm saying that in quotations because I'm just following the Sophie scarf pattern, but I'm using quite a chunky yarn. I had 5 skeins of Drops Puna, and I originally wanted to make a Maryland turtleneck, which is also from Fabel Knitwear. It's a very similar style to the Norma jean. It's just on a thinner gauge, but I just did not have it in me to have yet another project on a 4mm needle. And it's in this natural color. I believe they're undyed. Very soft, very squishy. Actually very similar to the Baby Alpaca by Lang Yarns. Just slightly different texture, but the softness I would say is really similar. And I'm holding 2 strands together. And I've used up the first 2 skeins just in this first half. So I'm going to attach my other 2 skeins and then just finish it, and I'll have 1 skein left over. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. Maybe I'll make, I don't think I can make a hat or anything with 1 skein. I probably could do mittens, but yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe like a penny glove or something. I would like to keep the garter stitch theme, and it's going to be quite long. Like it still has Sophie scarf vibes. It's still quite small, but it's just a little bit more substantial for the more colder days. And I think that like whenever I don't know what to do with my yarn, I just like make a Sophie scarf, I feel like. So those are all of my works in progress. I'm hoping to have the scarf and the mittens done within the next few days, and then I can kind of press on the rest of my sweater projects. So moving on to acquisitions, I have 2, and there are projects planned for these acquisitions. So I have 2 acquisitions. They're both Hanks, which, if you know, you know. I have the BC Garn Bio Shetland wool, and then I have the Cascade 220, which I could not believe I got this for such a good price in Europe. Of course, I leave Europe and I start using American yarn brands, kind of the pure Gynt of the US. I would say it's a little bit softer than the pure Gynt. If I had to compare them, a little bit scratchier, the pure Gynt, but like, again, when you block it, it becomes much softer, and over time it becomes softer. So hopefully this will hold up well over time. So let's start with the Cascade 220. So I am going to make the Diamond Aran cardigan with this. I have been really into textured knits and watching people make them, so I wanted to make one myself. And I chose to make this cardigan by Hello Fuga Life. She's a Japanese designer, and the pattern is very affordable. Like, I really think she could even raise her prices. For me, it's about 4 euros or 800 Japanese yen. It's knit in a DK weight, and it is super textured, crew neck. She's using Cascade Eco Merino, and there was one project that was using Cascade 220, so I decided to just go for it. And I saw someone using a navy blue, so I wanted to use a navy blue. And she also put like toggle buttons, those really trendy Scandinavian toggle buttons. And I thought that I could do that because I also wanted to make the Dagmar jacket, but I had already bought this before I realized I could have that as an option. I bought about 7 of these from Laine Tricot, which is a French yarn website. And the second I opened it, I'll insert a video because I filmed it, I was obsessed. I was like, ooh, it has like a sheen to it. It has such beautiful like shine and color. Pablo, can you not? I'm sorry, Bubba, but you gotta calm down. But anyway, while it is a darker color, I just was too scared to use a light color. Something that's gonna have that much work into it, I don't want it to get stained. So seeing that person's project in the Ravelry in the navy blue with the toggle buttons really kind of made me be like, okay, that's so I decided to go ahead and do it. So I've already swatched. I have not blocked the swatch yet. I'm going to do that later today. I just did a half swatch in double moss stitch, and again, like, really great stitch definition. I might go down a needle size. I just feel like it's too holy, I don't know, but it does have, again, that sheen really does show. It's so shiny. For something that's 100% wool. I almost achieved gauge with this. I just have to kind of stretch it out by like 1 centimeter. and we'll see how that goes. And I just want to say that the pattern is so interestingly written. There are a couple like spelling errors here and there, but there are like check boxes that you can like check off as you go, and everything has diagrams, and there's links to YouTube videos. And I just got an email a couple days ago that she updated the pattern, I think to include QR codes or something. I've immediately become a huge fan of this designer, and I'm excited to get started. And I actually did get started. I got started with my other yarn acquisition on this project. I initially bought this yarn for that. The yarn weight was not correct at my yarn store, and I like just, I don't know, their gauges are very odd on their label. I would not listen to that. So I ended up having to hold this double and order more. And then like as I got through like part of the back yoke and I picked up stitches for one shoulder, I think I did like 5 rows, and I was like, something's just not right. It's just not defined the way I want it to be. So that's why I got the Cascade 220. So I had to find something else to do with this yarn. And I decided to do the Esther sweater from PetiteKnit. The suggested yarns are actually pure Gynt with the Tynn silk mohair, which I was surprised because I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see all that texture with mohair. So I'm actually not holding mine with any mohair. And I did cast this on. I just did a few rows just to kind of like get a hang of everything. And I also did like a little swatch. Again, it's held double in this yarn, and you can really see like the definition really well. And I am scared to have a white sweater, and I am thinking like maybe I should hold it with mohair, but I don't plan to have this done until like February probably, just because it's kind of a one-off project. But Pablo, stop it. Yeah, it's just like I just had the yarn and I was like, I just need to find something to do with it. So I'm scared to have a white sweater, but it is really beautiful, so I don't know. If anything, I could always dye it, right? So those are the yarn acquisitions. So there was actually one more sweater pattern that I had intended to work on for this winter, and that was the season sweater by Ozetta. And I did order one of the suggested yarns, and I intended to use the drops brushed alpaca for the kind of like lace mohair element of it. So I bought exactly the yarn that she suggested, which is like this unspun Icelandic wool. It's like, I'm just gonna be honest, I was fully unaware of what Icelandic wool was. I was like, oh, it's probably really warm. I did not know that it meant that it was really rustic and really rough, and it takes quite a long time for things to soften. And I did knit up the collar of that sweater, and I just didn't like the way it was looking. I was not a big fan of the half fisherman's rib. Like, I love the way it looks, but I didn't enjoy the process of it, and I'm probably like 60% process knitter, 40% project knitter. I wasn't sure what to do, but I went through Ravelry and I found a couple of options. There was literally one option that did not involve me having to buy more yarn, and I didn't choose that one. So I decided to instead use the port jacket, which again has like the toggle buttons, which I don't know if I need 2 of those, but if I buy a pack of toggle buttons, I might as well, just whatever. I don't need to justify myself. You guys get it. It's knitters we're talking about. So yeah, I just need like one more skein of this. It's not terribly expensive in Europe, and the drops brushed alpaca is like 2-3 euros a ball, so it's not terribly expensive for me to purchase one more skein of this and 2 more skeins of the alpaca. Pablo, stop. Pablo, no. So anyway, the port jacket is by Ozetta, if I haven't already said that, and it's like a super rusticy Scandinavian, simple, slouchy, oversized jacket. Wait, she's actually using Let Lopi, which I also did buy a few skeins of because I had planned, I don't know what I had planned with that, but that was even more rough. Like, I did the swatch and it was like physically hurting my hand. It's so rough. I might make my dog a sweater with that because he has no hair on his belly. I switched this designer's sweater for another one of her patterns, basically. So they look like very different colors, but they actually knit up together so nicely. So I did enjoy the color combination. Something about the actual season sweater was just not meshing for me. But anyways, so I'm excited to make the port jacket out of the Icelandic wool. I will have to order a bit more. And it does knit on a 5mm needle with like a worsted weight gauge. So I think it'll be a quick knit. And if anything, I could just make it slightly shorter, maybe save yarn that way. So then finally, I want to speak a little bit about some knitting patterns that are on my radar that are in testing that have not come out yet, but when they do come out, I will be in line with bells on. And that is the Kintra sweater by Creabea. I've loved those girls that they're the three sisters that all knit together. I think one of them or all of them are doing a test knit, and it looks so satisfying, and it might be a great like summer project because it just looks like it's going to take forever. Yeah, I'm very much like flirting with the idea of color work. I really would love to have some color work things happening. Speaking of color work, another insanely beautiful pattern is the lumber sweater by The Knit Is On, and it's like a fully mohair sweater, I think 4 strands of this like very large scale gingham pattern, and the sweater is in test right now, but I'm like checking her Instagram waiting for it to like be released so I can see like what the suggested yarn is, if there's anything in my stash I could currently use. I just think it's perfect for like springtime. Something else I saw that's I think in testing is the cap ferret cardigan. I don't know how you say it. It's very like maritime vintagey vibes and looks like a good stash buster for like the little stripes. So that's also on my radar. So that is all I have for knitting. Let's get into sewing a little bit. And this is I have a lot of backlog for my sewing stuff, but I think I'm gonna just show you 2 projects I have in mind. Okay, so my body has been changing a lot just with all of my health problems and, you know, bloating and going up and down while we try and find like a diagnosis for what I've been having, which is why I've been like working from home and in bed a lot. And before I started like knitting like a crazy person, I am first and foremost a person who loves to sew. And I discovered Katerina Ivanova on TikTok, like a montage of her first YouTube video, and it was about how she was making these like silk ruffle panty briefs. And she has basically created videos ever since, creating her dream wardrobe. So starting from undergarments, and now she's moving on to skirts. So I was really inspired by that. So I decided to take part. She also made a bra, and I drafted the bra, and it fits so well. But again, like my body is changing, so it might not really work for me anymore. So the bra is on the back burner, but I love how this is the first draft. This is the first freaking draft, and it came out so good. And I just used some old underwire from a bra, and I ordered a bunch of like bra supplies. They're not too terribly expensive, like elastic and underwire channeling and all that stuff. Not terribly expensive. She also did like a vintage style Mary Widow corset, but I feel like something that's really going to suit me for now would be a slip dress. And she has 2 incredible videos on this topic. She shows you how to make the pattern. Everything that she provides is free. An incredible artist. I'm obsessed with her. This is a Katerina Ivanova Stan account. And I even like got a similar silk to the one she had that I got here in Paris. So it's this beautiful champagne-y color, and I've already washed it, which was a terrifying thing to have to do, but it came out okay. It's actually a very similar process to blocking. I have like a cashmere, silk, and wool wash that I've used for all of my knits and my silk. That has worked out great. And I also did purchase some lace, because obviously with making a slip dress, you do need lace. So I have just this plain white lace. I'm not sure if I love this lace, but I figured it'll get me started. Pretty kind of like one-sided lace in white that I think really suits the champagne color. Yeah, I just feel like this is a good project for where my body is right now, and then I can move on to like the more form-fitting garments once my health is a little bit better. There is one sewing project, or a couple sewing projects, that I already have cut out, so it's a bit wrinkled because I just washed it, but it is a skirt, and it's actually, I drafted this skirt myself, and it has like shorts inside. This is the first draft, so I did put it in backwards, but I used a lot of Katerina Ivanova's techniques actually, where she binds all of her stitches with this beautiful bias tape and everything, and she puts these like loops in for hangers, and she uses like a specific type of interfacing, and I incorporated that into my what I call my perfect skirt. Has a beautiful seam in the center, and again you can kind of see the binding better here, where I bound both the hem and the open seams with some scrap kind of plaid-y fabric that I had. And I have plans to make a few more of these. I already have one cut out in this beautiful brown gabardine. I made Pablo this coat out of the same brown fabric. It's a beautiful brown gabardine, so like a trench coat material. And I plan to make that same skirt out of this. It's very thick though, so I'll probably opt out of the shorts, or even just maybe do a lighter fabric in the shorts. I also have a couple of like cute little 1.5 meter denims, which I think could be cute. I just love like mini skirts. I think they go with everything. and it's all I want to wear. So I might just try and find a way to make them a little bit more adjustable so that they suit my purposes. I do think my health is going to be in control pretty soon, so I'm excited to make those once I do. And the bra. Can we just, and a little bit more commotion for the bra, because this is made of canvas. This is just the mock-up. It's a disaster on the inside. There's like, the only change I had to make was taking this in here. That's it. That's the only change I had to make. And again, the drafting, like how to draft this, is free on her YouTube channel. It's free. And it fits me better than any bra I've ever purchased. Granted, I did have a bra that I had to reference of like where the straps were, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, but still this is like the best fitting bra. And since my weight is a little bit higher since making this, I don't know if I need to actually make changes to this, or just because it's canvas, it's like 1 millimeter change in my body that it's like gonna become really tight. That I don't know, but I have some white cotton eyelet fabric that I think I'll do a practice with first. I don't want to cut into my beautiful silk just yet. Yeah, if you like to sew, if you're like a pretty experienced sewer, go to Katarina Ivanova's page. I love her so much. She lives in Germany. Maybe we could be friends. I don't know.
Nope, I see you.
Anyway. Anyway, so the sun is starting to go down here in France, so I think we can end it there. I think my next video I'll maybe share some like winter knitting plans, inspiration, like things I just know I'm not going to be able to get to this year, and maybe do some, maybe a yarn tour of Paris, regular podcast. Oh my god. You know, we're going to try this again. Okay, somebody needs a nap. Somebody needs a nap. And that somebody is you. Oh my god. So follow me on Instagram for more like live updates on some of my projects. I think my next video will be something like a winter knitting inspiration for those of you who still need projects. We all always need projects. Or even just another podcast. We'll see how much I can get done in the next few weeks. I've included links to everything below, and including my Ravelry link, so if you want to add me on there, feel free to do so. Thanks so much for spending time with me today and Pablo, and I'll see you next time.